Tonight is the first Republican primary debate. It's taking place in Milwaukee. Current polling indicating former President Trump's popularity has surged ahead of others in the race for the Republican nomination, and its ongoing legal challenges don't seem to be stopping that. Meanwhile, his closest contender, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, experienced a significant decline in support. Other candidates remain in the single digits. Former president won't join the stage tonight, opting to skip the debate and maybe poke in the eye of the folks at Fox by releasing, or at least maybe Tucker Carlson is the poke in the eye, releasing a previously taped interview at the same time that they're going to post.
They're both pokers, I'm pretty sure.
On Twitter.
They're both pokers.
Joining us right now is Frank Luntz, FIL Inc. pollster. Frank, it's great to see you. Let's talk about what's at stake tonight, if anything. Given what seems to be, I don't know, will there be attention on this? Will there not be attention on this? What's going to happen?
There's going to be a lot of attention, and a lot of people are tuning in because tonight is the official beginning of 2024. Not Labor Day, not Thanksgiving, not January 1st. This very first debate, the same thing happened in 2015, and people started paying attention at this point. And there are people watching right now, your show, determining whether or not the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, deserves their money. For him, he's got more to prove than anyone else. His numbers have been dropping every single week. The polling that you showed right there, I believe he had 16% of the vote, a new low for him. There was a time earlier this year when he was at 30%. There are billionaires that are deciding, is he worth their investment? So he has the most to prove and the most to lose tonight. Second,
is there any... Go ahead.
Go ahead. Second is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right.
Your numbers have him at 10%. A lot of voters don't know him. They're curious about him, and they're being driven towards giving him a chance, taking a look. He's the Ben Carson of this time. He's the Herman Cain of this election. No electoral experience, no governing experience, but people are paying attention because up to this point, they've liked what they've heard, and now they want to hear more.
Frank, when you say Ben Carson, and kind of put him in the Herman Cain camp, that sounds like you're writing him off. I don't think Vivek's quite the same. He seems like he's got a little more substance than...
He is significant, and his economic policy, people are paying attention. But he's taken a decidedly pro-Trump view. And what viewers should know is that there seems to be, I don't want to make an accusation without proof, but there seems to be a level of cooperation between Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's figured out how to get Trump voters to give him a look, which the other candidates have not done.
When you say or imply that there's some kind of connection between the two groups, is that because you think that Vivek would ultimately try to run as his VP, or because there's something else at play here?
Every candidate holds Trump accountable in some way for something. Vivek, and you see the numbers in front of you right now, how significant. He's at 10%. He's above the former vice president. Whatever Donald Trump says that he's been indicted, Vivek seems to say that that's okay, that he doesn't challenge him, he doesn't criticize him.
Those articles have been written that he's there to take down DeSantis for Trump. And then it's also been written that DeSantis, in his debate notes, is supposed to go after Vivek. So, I mean, that's I don't know if any of that's true, but the scuttlebutt. I just wonder, Frank, who are they going to be attacking mostly tonight? I think they'll be attacking Trump more than Biden. And that's what all of them are saying. You know, we need to attack Biden, not each other. But when it comes down to it, they got to attack the people that they're vying for the nomination with, don't you think?
Yes, I do. And if they all pile on the governor, and you've got Chris Christie that you're showing right now, if they all pile on the Florida governor and his numbers go any further down, you're going to see money move from DeSantis. We haven't talked about Tim Scott from South Carolina, who's got the highest favorability and the lowest negative of any of the candidates. And he's the one in Iowa that seems to be moving. And the key to Tim Scott is the fact that he has no negative. And people are looking for someone with a more positive message. And in New Hampshire, It's former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie who's getting attention. Christie's actually pulled into second place in some of New Hampshire polling. So there's a lot of investment on people who watch shows like this, who are trying to figure out how to stop Donald Trump. And that's why tonight's debate is so important. You're going to see a lot of money move because of their performance tonight.
Frank, well, that's sort of the question I was going to ask. You've been polling people for decades now. Are you surprised by the strength of the Trump candidacy amid these indictments, amid all this sort of, I don't know if it's noise or more? And therefore, the question is, if you think that's going to change, what would change that?
Well, there's one number that has shocked me more than any other. More voters in a CBS News poll trust Donald Trump than trust their own friends and family when it comes to issues of politics. 71% of the Republican primary electorate. That's mind-blowing when you consider what he's gone through over the last 3 months. It's going to be very difficult to dislodge them. And if it's going to happen, it's only going to happen because of these debates. And it's a fascinating strategic decision on Trump's part.
What does this relate to, though? Because there are people who are watching right now who are hearing you say that, and it sounds like you're saying it's mind-boggling, and they're sitting at home saying, that is mind-boggling. How could that be?
Because Trump is now seen as that's the question. That Trump is now seen as a victim. He's now seen as being persecuted, not just prosecuted, that the level of anti-government that he's been able to dominate the communication and be able to suggest to the public's agreement, to the Republicans' agreement, that this is a campaign against him to keep him from getting the nomination. And I want to emphasize to viewers one thing. Donald Trump is a prohibitive favorite in the Republican primary. Independents have turned against him. Democrats have turned against him. That he's got a very difficult road ahead if it's about electability. Of all the Republicans against Joe Biden, Donald Trump is the weakest at the same moment that he is by far the strongest candidate in the primaries.